You gotta see Natasha. She looks like
it's impossible for every business and every person to come to the table and do things. Only two things.
I muted somebody's microphone. I can't figure out how to unmute them now. I muted Babs McClendon because of the background noise, and now it's like, okay, hopefully she can unmute if she needs to ask a question. Hey, Babs, you might want to try unmuting your mic because I muted you, and because of the background noise. See if you can unmute. See if you can unmute your microphone. Okay. Okay, I can hear you. I happened to mute it. I've never tried to do that before because there was a lot of background noise. And I'm like, oh, I can't unmute you if I need you to, you know, want to have you be able to talk.
well, gotta unmute Harold. You gotta go unmute yourself.
Well, if he wants to talk, you can mute yourself until you're ready to talk. I was just trying to see if, because when I give the presentation, I'm probably going to ask everybody to kind of mute their microphone. And then I'll do the presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions towards the end.
Sounds great.
And one of the things I'm going to ask, of course, I think I have your all's contact information, but if we have other people join, to type in basically their name, their address, email address, in case we want to get in touch with them throughout the project. So that would be in the chat. You can just, enter that information in, and this meeting is being recorded. And I think we'll give it about 5 minutes for more people to join before we get started.
Natasha, the Marzettis won't be on. she's babysitting her daughters, and Larry's not capable of getting on.
Oh, okay. I see we have two other people just joined, and then there's a Tom Humphreys just joined.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, hello.
Hi. I'm going to give about 5 minutes for more people to hop on before I get started with the presentation.
Okay.
I sent letters out to about 90 addresses, so
Wow.
we'll see how that all works out.
So I have a question. If I had put the meeting ID that you put on the letter, would that have brought me here also? Or was
Yeah,
that?
if you have typed in like if I'm trying to think, if you have to go to the website to get to the meeting ID, and
Oh,
I think
okay.
there was a QR code on there. If you did that with a phone, you could automatically go to it. And I think there's a
Oh,
dial-in
okay.
number too for people. Some people I noticed are dialed in through a phone number.
Okay. Well,
We'll see who else joins us here. I haven't gotten any. I invited Nick Reinhardt from the Board of Supervisors office, but he has never responded. So I even emailed him earlier today to see if anybody was going to attend, and I haven't gotten any response. But our director of public works might attend, and got Frank Roberts just joined us. He's our project coordinator, and I work under him.
Good evening. all.
Frank, I'm giving it
No
about
problem,
7:05. I'll get started. I wanted to give people a chance to get on before I get started with the presentation.
sir. Sounds good.
so I know Tom is on the board. Is Justin or Matt on the board?
No, I'm actually with Arcadis, the firm that did the design for this.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank
and-
you.
Yeah, and Justin's with our wastewater collection division. They're the using agency who operates and maintains the pump stations.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So when the project's finished, the force main will basically be turned over to them.
Okay. So they're a subcontractor.
Not exactly. They're part of Fairfax County. So I'm wastewater design and construction division, and we basically do the design and construction of improvements for the sewer system. And Justin works for the agency that does the operation and maintenance of these, and they also are kind of involved in long-term planning. You know, they project stuff that's going to need to be brought to us for design and construction improvements. All right. Well, it's 7:05, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And
Okay.
let me pull up the presentation. So everybody who's attending might want to just, if you're not participating in the presentation, I ask that you mute your microphone. And when we get to the question and answer session, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. And also, I would greatly appreciate it if in the chat, you can leave your name, address, like which, your street address is fine. I know it's Alexandria, Virginia, unless you're from out of town or something. And email address, phone number, whatever. We can keep in touch with you throughout the project, especially if we have any sort of delay to the project. And let me go ahead here and get started on the slideshow.
Can I ask, I'm not familiar where the mute button is for the microphone.
Okay, hold on a second here. Let me just pull up. Let me escape out of this for a second. See if I can try to. So usually that's up in the upper right hand. Wait a minute. Where you see your name. And then up in the upper right hand corner, there should be like a camera, mic, and share and leave. The mic button, if you select that, you can mute yourself.
I'm still looking.
Yeah, it's maybe your screen's a little different.
Yeah, I don't see my name on the screen now.
All right, well, if most people can just mute and just maybe just just wait until I get to the question and answers, start asking questions about the project.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're presenting the Riverwood Force Main Rehabilitation Project, and get to the introductions. My name's Natasha Schmidt. I'm the project manager for Fairfax County Wastewater Design and Construction Division. We're a division under the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services. And I'll be managing this project through construction. And I'll go ahead and let other people from Department of Public Works introduce themselves. So.
All right. I'm Frank Roberts. I'm also with Natasha's group in Capital Facilities, in the Wastewater Design and Construction Division.
And my name is Justin Ferguson. I'm with the Wastewater Collection Division.
Okay. We have anybody else from Fairfax County on the line to do introductions? All right. So we'll get to the engineering consultant. Matt, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Natasha. My name's Matt Roeder. I'm the project manager for Arcadis, the firm that did the design for this project.
All right, and I'll just repeat, anybody who's on this meeting from the community, if you would like to leave your name and address and phone number, email address, so we can keep in touch with you. If you want to have us keep in touch with you through the project, you can leave that in the chat section, or you can email me as well. I think my email address is on the letters that went out. So that's a way to get in touch with me if you want to do it that way. And we'll get on to the presentation. Meeting agenda. So I'll do a brief description of the wastewater division and who we are and what we do for Fairfax County. Then we'll discuss or present the existing force main, the project benefits to the community, the proposed force main that's going to replace the existing force main. Then we'll have some slides that will show the construction sequence, post-construction pavement restoration, and the traffic control. Then we'll have some bypass pipe pumping that's going to be part of this project, and I'll have an example photo of what that kind of looks like, the piping that you'll see running along the top of the ground and in the street during that time. The anticipated schedule for the project. Then we'll get into questions and answers before we have the adjournment of the meeting. So the wastewater division and who we are, we protect the public health and water quality, and the Fairfax County sanitary sewer system is among the nation's largest sanitary sewer systems. Wastewater is generated from sinks, washing machines, dishwashers, showers, tubs, and toilets. our wastewater division, we plan, design, operate, and maintain this sanitary sewer system, and that includes 3,250 miles of gravity sewer and force main pipe, approximately 60 pump stations, and we currently have 250,687 residential accounts and 14,718 commercial accounts in Fairfax County. The Noman Coal Pollution Control Plant currently treats 41 million gallons per day. That's where a large amount of Fairfax County's wastewater goes to. And then there's some other plants like the Blue Plains, and that's part of DC Water that treats some of Fairfax County's water. And I think there's a couple others as well. I'm trying to remember them off the top of my head. And then once treated, this water is released back into the region's waterways. And then this is the internet address where you can find this information on the internet. So this is just basically from the about information for Public Works.
Natasha, I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing something? I'm not seeing it if you are.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on a second. I'm supposed to be, let me do this. I thank you for speaking up. All right, let me go to share. I apologize, everybody. Oh, I'm human, like everybody else. So I'll start this from the beginning, but we won't go through the introductions again. So go through, this was the meeting agenda. And then this was what I was just talking about, the wastewater division and who we are. So I won't go through and repeat that again, but I'll just click through the slide here and we'll get on to talking about the existing force main. And there's the link that I was just talking about. So now you can see what I was just talking about, but you couldn't see on the screen. And the existing force main is a 4-inch diameter cast iron pipe, and it was installed back in 1970. So it's 52 years old, and it's approximately 657 linear feet in length. And it goes from the existing Riverwood pump station, which is on this over on this side of, I don't know if you can see my cursor any or not. And it follows through lot 205 and along Riverwood Court, and then sort of zigzags and discharges into manhole 27, which is in Riverwood Road, close to the intersection with Riverwood Court. And where it's on residential property on lot 205, it's located within a 15-foot wide easement. And right now it's nearing the end of its useful and practical life, being that it's 52 years old, and replacement is required. And here's just a larger overview of how this existing force main runs. The existing pump station is located sort of back. We access it through an access road that goes through the Riverwood HOA. There's like a little recreation area there. And the force main is this little dash line, runs through lot 205 and then along almost the southern end of Riverwood Court and out here to manhole 27. So the project benefits, there'll be a new 4-inch ductile iron pipe, and it will serve the surrounding community for the foreseeable future. Replacement of that pipe will reduce the level and frequency of maintenance required to keep the force main operating, and it's going to prevent costly emergency repairs and provide residents with safe, reliable utility infrastructure and enhance the quality of life for residents. Furthermore, it's going to reduce risk to public health and environment. And this is the plan and current plan and profile for the force main. And it's going to be this is where the existing pump station is. So we're installing it out the northern end of the pump station wall. And there's going to be a new bypass vault. I can pull up a set of drawings here towards the end if you want to maybe see a better view of that. But it will come across, and it's going to be located within the existing sanitary sewer easement on lot 205 until it gets about to station. I can't hardly read it there. 1+67. It's kind of hard to read, but it will come over onto lot 204 and then out along the northern side of Riverwood Court. And for the most part, it's going to be approximately 7 to 10 feet below grade. And then this is the other end of that, where it runs out towards Riverwood Road and to the existing manhole 27. And then also, additionally, what the contractor will do is they're going to do a cleaning and rehabilitation of this existing manhole. So I'll let Matt, I don't know if he could take control here, and well, what I'll do is I'll control this, and will go through the construction sequence.
Thank you, Natasha. So the first part, we have about 4 main steps that we've broken this into to help people understand how this is going to take place. The first part is, other than the upstream and the downstream end, this new force main will be far enough away from the existing force main that we can install it without, well, just leaving the existing force main in service. So that'll be the first thing that we do. And you can see from here that if you could just click that, Natasha, and then we can show it. There we go. So you can see that the bulk of the force main we're going to be able to install leaving the existing force main in service. And while we're doing this, for the residents that are on the side of the court that are closest to where the excavation will be, we'll be using steel plates to cover up the excavation, and then the contractor will also be going and backfilling as they go. So it's possible if they are digging in front of your house and they don't quite get all the backfilling done that day, they'll put a steel plate over that, and then they'll put cold mix to kind of hold it in place. And then probably the next day they'll come back and they'll backfill over it. And then they'll put some temporary, cold mix pavement on top of that. So once all this is done and tested, then the contractor is going to install the bypass pumping line. So that will take the flows that collect at the manhole that's just upstream of the pumping station. And there'll be some pumps there, and they'll pump them to the manhole that's downstream of the discharge manhole for the force main. So everything will all of this, the sanitary service for the neighborhood will remain in place. Everything's going to flow by gravity to the pumping station. And then once the bypass system is set up, then the contractor will do the connection to the discharge manhole that's on your left, and then we'll do the connection to the existing pumping station, and that's on your right. And then finally, when those have both been tested and it passed, then the contractor will take away the bypass pumping line and the new force main will be in service. And then the contractor will just finish up with the restoration. And then, so I wanted to also explain to folks that the pavement restoration will take place in kind of 2 parts. There's the first temporary part that they do when they're finished with individual parts of the force main installation, and that's just temporary. They'll even it out as best they can. But then when they're all done with everything, then what they'll do is they will go, and you can see the limits of pavement restoration here. They'll mill out the top of that, and they'll put down a nice, smooth, even coat. So this will be a brand new, nice paved intersection and a nice new paved court when they're all done. And then finally, wanted to just kind of explain to people that there is going to be a lane closure when they're out in the on Riverwood Road to do the work on that manhole. That's the hatched area that you can see there that they'll be closing. So the way that the traffic control will work is they'll have flaggers at each one of the red dots that you can see. So that way you can control traffic, since you're only going to have the one lane that's going to be able to go on that part of Riverwood Road that is that's right next to where the excavation will be. And this table of lane closures this is a Fairfax County standard. We're not going to be letting the contractor do any work at night or on the weekends. So you can see there the hours that they'll be working. They are supposed to shut down a little bit earlier on Friday afternoons. So they'll hopefully be able to accomplish that work pretty quickly. And then once they're done, they'll do the temporary restoration there and then the final pavement restoration when they're all complete with that work.
Yeah, and just to add, when they're working on Riverwood Court itself with laying the water line, they'll just they'll basically play it by ear in terms of if somebody needs to be directed. They'll work with the residents on Riverwood Court and facilitating access to and from their homes and any sort of delivery vehicles, that kind of thing. So I don't know if Matt had anything to add to that or not.
No, that's actually all I had, Natasha. Thanks.
Okay. All right, then this is an example of what the bypass pump piping will look like. And this also shows steel plates. So you get an idea what these steel plates look like. In this case, they were digging a shallow trench and they put the plates over top. But these pipes have these little ramps where the driveways are, and they sort of kind of serve like a pipe that the wastewater could flow through, but they're able to allow vehicles to drive over top of them. So you're more than likely you're going to see that wherever there's a driveway. And then I'll go back a slide here or two. So here, the other place you might see it would be where that crosses Riverwood Road, and also where it's going to be coming out at let me see if I go back a little bit here. So where it crosses Riverwood Road, and then I think there was a couple of driveways here on this pipe stem that looked like that bypass line would be crossing there. These other three properties, I think, would be fine. They wouldn't be driving across the ramp, but there'd be some sort of a ramp that they can drive across to get to their driveway. So just wanted to highlight that. So this is what you'll expect, and you'll probably see some orange cones placed along the bypass piping to sort of help protect it from being hit by vehicles. So this is the anticipated schedule, and it's anticipated only. So right now there's a lot of ongoing supply chain issues that may impact necessary material deliveries. Ductile iron pipe right now has got a pretty long lead time on it, so it could possibly impact the construction schedule. And so March 2022 is when the detailed design was completed. And today, April 14th, we're doing the community outreach meeting. And right now we're expecting to commence construction in June 2022. And when we say commence, it won't necessarily mean that you see site activity on that exact time. A lot of times, beginning of construction, we're getting shop drawings and reviewing those. And then the contractor uses the approved shop drawings to order the materials for the project, especially the long lead items. And then they'll get started on the site work. So the actual site work, I think, was about 3 to 4 months of actual site work that you'll notice. And then we're anticipating completion of construction based on this schedule at being at the end of the year in December. So if anything significantly impacts that, I'll inform the community through a letter or something, or even door hangers. And plus we have a project website, so I'll try to keep that updated as well. So now it's time to open this up to questions. So let's see here.
So, Natasha, I have one question. I noticed on the lane closure times, there was a night schedule on the right side of the table.
Okay, let me see. See if I can go back to that. Let's see. Trying to navigate this here. Hold on. Okay, right there.
Yeah, so the right side of the table says nighttime. So
Yeah.
will it be closed at night?
No, it won't be closed at night. So this is only if they were doing night work. And with this project, we're not planning on doing any night work. There's not really a need for night work. Normally, when you have night work, it's for an emergency, or if you're in a situation that it's a high traffic area, like a 4-lane highway or something, then they would do night work during the times of day when the traffic's not as heavy, or they might plan it for, Saturday night or during the day on Sunday type thing. So they've got, some off times that they can work in those situations.
Okay.
But pretty much, this is going to be daytime work. So we got to follow the VDOT guidelines on lane closures for that. And that would be 9 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday. And then that cutoff time is going to be 2 o'clock on Friday, and no weekends or holidays.
Hi, this is Lisa Rice. I live on the cul-de-sac there, and unfortunately can't see the presentation with how I'm dialing in. I'm on my mobile because of my
Okay.
work travel, but I tried to keep up best I could. So I'm just curious. You're saying when they're not working, you're covering it with some sort of steel. If you look at the website, that picture where it says project background, that's our house there with a tan brick, and we have two
Okay.
small children. So I just want to make sure we have like a safe situation at night.
Okay. Well, yeah, that trench would be completely covered up at night. So
You've got to understand that the trench is going directly in front of her
yeah,
house.
let me see here. Let me pull up the county website.
They're on the right side.
Okay.
So the pipe is going directly in front of their driveway.
Give me a second. I'm pulling up the project website so I can see.
Okay, there we are.
Okay. So this. So this is your house right here?
No, she's on the opposite side.
On the opposite side over here.
Where the pipe is going up.
Okay, the pipe's going to be installed on this side of the street.
No.
Can you see my
Yes,
cursor?
that's her house. Babs, that's her house. This is
Oh,
Christian.
oh, no, you're right. You're standing in front of my house. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's where it is.
The cul-de-sac.
Her house is the first house on the right.
So this one here.
Yes,
So you can see my cursor.
I can.
Okay, I just want to make
Lisa's
sure.
driving, I think she said.
Yeah,
I keep presentation up, so.
Yeah, so
That's
this
Lisa's
is
house with the cursor. Yes.
yeah, okay. So you want to maybe give some sort of insight on that, Matt, a little bit, because they're gonna.
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely understand your concern. I have 4 kids. Our youngest is 7, but he's still at an age when a construction site looks pretty enticing. What they'll do is the contractors, as they go and install the pipe, they will, for the most part, once they get a length of pipe installed, they'll backfill over it. They'll only use the steel plates if, let's say that they're in the middle of working and there's a thunderstorm or something like that, or if they're getting to the point where they have to shut down for the day and they haven't backfilled all the way up to the street level. So usually that will only, you probably would only have a plate there for maybe 1 or 2 nights. It's not going to be a long-term thing because the contractor wants to get through. They want to backfill. They want to get that all covered up as quickly as they can and just keep moving down the line. But we can definitely make sure that the contractor works with you to let you know when that's going to happen. If there are things that I think that they could do to help out, like put additional flagging around that, we can do that. But that's definitely, I can definitely understand the concern.
Mhm.
And we'll also have people from both the county and from my company out there during the construction. So we'll make sure that the contractor is mindful of that and that they're doing a good job to protect their excavations. So nobody tries to get in there.
Yeah, and with the street construction, with the force main, pretty much we want full-time inspection staff on site for that. So somebody from either Arcadis or Fairfax County will be on site to inspect that work.
My
When there's
concern, and I'm going to bring this up because Kristen and Lisa live side by side.
Mhm.
And by your plan, you had the bypass going up that side and up to the pipe stem across the road from us.
Mhm.
So what are you going to put over that bypass so they can get in and out of their houses?
Okay, that was this picture. Let me see if I can go to that. Go to that slide. Let me see here.
That was the ramp.
Huh?
That was the ramp that you showed?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
And Matt, one issue you need to consider is many times when they backfill, it looks solid the first night or the first day, and the next day it sinks. So that's something to keep under consideration.
That definitely, and that's actually something that the county has a state specification that calls for the contractor to compact any soil that's under a roadway to something that's called 95% of its maximum dry density. So, and they have to do it in 8-inch lifts. So what they have to do is when they finish installing the pipe, they can put in 8 inches of soil, and then they have, in this case, they probably will, they'll put a little attachment on the end of the excavator, and then it vibrates and it compacts the soil into place. And then they test it.
Okay.
Then they go another 8 inches, do the same thing. So you put a little bit of soil in, compact it, put more soil in, compact it, and you work your way up like that. So because otherwise, if they don't do it like that, then exactly what you're talking about will happen. That it'll sink, as it settles. But this way, that doesn't happen.
Okay, thank you.
Here's a picture again of the piping. So you're asking how you would get in and out of your driveway. There would be a pipe similar to this. This is the type of pipe that you can drive across. It's a ramp, but the flow is able to go right through that ramp and come out the other side. So that will support vehicular traffic driving across it. And we've set the sequencing up to minimize the amount of time we're going to be on bypass piping, bypass pumping. So we've sequenced this accordingly to try to avoid being on it very long. So instead of having it the entire project, we're minimizing it as much as possible to where it's only going to be in place while they're connecting, finishing up the connection of the new force main to the pump station itself and to the manhole that's in Riverwood Road.
So are you starting at the pump station, or are you starting at the manhole in Riverwood Road?
We are starting with constructing this piece of force main pipe first. So when that's being done, there's not going to be any bypass piping laying, in the road or anything like that. So this is where they'll start with this first.
No, the question I asked was, when you start construction, are you starting construction at the pump station and then going uphill?
Do you want me to answer that one?
Yeah, you can answer that.
So the way that the contracts are typically written, the contractor can decide that in the field, but usually what they do when they install something like this is they want to start at the downstream end, which would be at the pumping station, and then work their way upstream. So most likely what they would do, start at the pumping station and then just work their way up the hill, out into the court and towards the manhole.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Thanks,
Okay.
Matt.
I did have another question. Hold on a second.
Okay.
While you're looking, Babs, I've got a question. It's Christian. I live on this side where they're going to be tearing this up. How much do you care? Just street,
Okay,
or
there's some,
will it get,
okay, you
will it
might
get
want to
into
start
the
over
road?
again. There was some noise.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
good.
it's just, I'm just wondering how much is going to get dig up? Like, is this going to get into my curb in my yard, or is this going to take place just out in the street?
You live on the corner?
Yes.
That will, but mostly it's all gonna be, it's not gonna be in your yard, because if it were in your yard, we'd be getting an easement from you, which we didn't. This would
Right.
be in the street, so it would be the pavement and the curb and gutter at the most. It gets dug up here, and then the contractor would have to restore that at the end.
Gotcha. And I know that we've also got technology. The technical term will escape me, but the water that comes down the street comes down this way too. And how is this going to affect the drainage that comes from the rest of the neighborhood that then comes down our pipe stem and goes out somewhere there? Because I know I've got water out here outside my house all the time.
This
So
won't, this
that's-
is not impacting the terrain at all.
So
Long term.
he's talking about the storm sewer.
Yeah, the storm sewer drainage.
So when you've got all that dug up, it's not going to impact where that flows?
I mean,
Hmm.
Matt, you might want to help me out here a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, with
So
describing this to them.
Sure. So the contractor is required to protect any existing stormwater inlet and piping, and they're also required to maintain the same drainage pattern. So they'll have to put protection around their trench, but they're not allowed to alter that stormwater pattern during this construction. If it were a bigger project, they might have to do something temporarily, but for a project like this, they're not, their permit is not going to allow them to do that.
Yeah, and on this end of the project where your property is located, all this is in the street. So they're doing all street work. And
Okay,
it shouldn't be impacting the drainage at all.
I've got a question that has been brought up, not with you, Natasha, but our front yard on the right is sinking. And our lawyer, who is a different person than you dealt with, contacted Fairfax County, and they determined the storm sewer pipe may be cracked. So what happens as they are digging and they discover something like this, or the sewer pipe is cracked or something? What happens then?
Do you want me to take that one, Natasha?
Yeah, you can. I was going to try to pull up the plans.
Okay.
Here,
If
see if I can.
So if they're working in your yard and they find that the force main is cracked, then they can do a temporary repair to stop that leaking. And it would just be something, a short kind of patch, because eventually that force main is going to get replaced with the new force main. And one of the things I should have mentioned this earlier. When the contractor has put the new force main in service, what they'll do with the old force main is they will cap one of the ends, and then they fill the force main with a lightweight concrete, sometimes called flowable fill, and then they cap the other end. So it's so you won't have a hollow pipe sitting there underground that'll be filled up. If there's a storm sewer, if there's a crack in the storm sewer, I'm not quite sure how the county would handle that contractually, but what they can do is they can have the contractor do an emergency repair via a change order. Or I don't know, Natasha, does the county have separate emergency contractors for storm sewers?
We have emergency contractors for our wastewater. I mean, if this happens and it's if it's on our wastewater project, then it could be handled through a change order if something happens. And I think right here we've got where this crosses, it's going to actually go over the existing storm pipe. So there's an existing 30-inch RCP storm right here is where it's going to be crossing at.
Mhm,
So if
mhm.
they dug in this area, for example, and they found something collapsed here, that could be handled through a change order to repair that.
Okay, well, it's further out in the front yard. So I was just curious because
So you're
this
saying it's
is
happening
yeah,
more.
this is a major thing when they start digging our front yard.
Yeah, so
because
this is close.
when the guys came to do all those holes to see exactly where the gas main was,
Mhm.
he filled it up and he really patted it down. And the next day it was down 8 inches. So he went and got road debris or something like that, and he filled it up with that. So this is my concern. My front yard is sinking, and it sank even more after we had the soil drilling done. And I am concerned that if you just fill it with soil, it's still going to drop. But if you put rocks or something in there to allow the drainage to go down, it might solve it.
Well, one of the things that so with the sewer installation, like I was mentioning before, the contractor is required to compact that so it doesn't sink.
Uh-huh.
I didn't see, I wasn't out there with the crew that was doing the test holes, but I'd be very surprised if they did anything to compact that. And those holes are so small, it's difficult to do that.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, Natasha, is there like a liaison between the county stormwater and the wastewater? There's somebody that you could have come out and take a look at that from that group?
Well, somebody supposedly came out, and then the last I heard, Fairfax County was going to come out and run their camera through the storm drain. Now, I haven't heard anything after that. I wasn't here when they did it, if they did it. So,
Stormwater division.
yeah,
Yeah, it probably was maintenance and stormwater management division, Natasha. So
Yeah.
I think for the community, I think if we could follow up with them,
Mhm.
see if we can give them the information, would be a nice courtesy and
Mhm.
for the community to do that. And I just wanted to also speak about the if there is any, we're going to do the compaction like Matt had said and Natasha have said, and we're going to compact, have the contractor compact its specifications so it doesn't settle. But for whatever reason, if there is any settlement, we do have a warranty that with the contractor for a year after construction is complete. And so we can have them come back and redo compaction or fill in the areas and recompact it, or do
okay,
any repaving if the paving doesn't hold after a year. So we do have some other things as a kind of a insurance policy, sort of after the work is complete, that we can come back and we keep this project on our books for a year after we're done, and we do a walkthrough at the end of that year, at the end of the warranty phase, to ensure that there's no warranty work that we need to have the contractor come back and fix. It could be landscaping, it could be settlement. In this case, those have become the common things.
okay. And Natasha, you covered all of this with Marzetti's when you had your meeting with them?
Covered what with them?
The the fact that there's a warranty for 1 year afterward.
I believe we may have mentioned it to them.
Okay,
It's been a while since we had the meeting with them at their property. But yes, Frank's right that the project is under warranty for a year after we get to substantial completion. And usually
Okay.
about the 11th month of that warranty period is when we schedule to have the warranty inspection. And we walk the site and just look for, problems with any of the restoration, any problems with the force main itself and how it's functioning. And then we'll have other stuff that we check too that was installed. The manhole rehab that was done up at the Riverwood Road, make sure that that's holding up well, that they're not none of that epoxy coating is delaminating off the inside of the manhole, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Which delamination means flaking, pretty much.
I guess my final question is, I understand that you have a final plan. Could you please send me a full copy of it?
Yes, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
this is the bid ready plan that I've got up right now.
Just so I have it. I mean, I have an idea of exactly where it's going to be, and I've been calming my neighbor down a little bit about it, so she's okay.
Yeah, and this gives a little bit more detail up here. I think the gentleman who lives at lot 201 was asking about this. So all this is happening in the VDOT right of way. This is the VDOT right of way line that you see in your the property line.
No. I know you have an easement in their backyard.
Oh, you're talking about the Marzettis.
Yeah. But what's the VDOT easement? I'm
The
not
VDOT
able.
right of way is the street. So
Okay.
So I was talking about, somebody was asking about they have this corner property.
Right.
And they were asking if any of this stuff would be on their property. And these drawings give a little bit better picture of that than my slideshow does.
Right.
So, this little 2 short dashes and long line here is that right away. And then our limits of disturbance is out here in the street.
All right. Well, I know that the people, especially whose houses that you're going directly in front of, would want to make sure that, the pavement is good. So,
Yes.
Because sometimes Virginia comes in and they dig up and they leave this patch, which is a mess. So,
so you're talking about Dominion?
Yeah.
Virginia Power?
Yes. So,
or any number of utilities. You got the, Fairfax Water, you got, looks like Washington Gas.
Oh yes, the gas want to come in and change the meter now. So it never stops.
Yes. Well, that's what happens when you've got a lot of utilities in the street. There's always going to be something that needs to be maintained or replaced.
So in the newer construction, do they place the utilities in the street?
Do they do what?
Do they place the utilities the same way going down?
These utilities are not going to be disturbed out here. The only thing that's being redone is the force main itself, and we're not having to relocate anything, but we do have notes here where we're crossing underneath the storm sewer. So the contractor is to protect this existing storm sewer when they're digging under. So they'll have to do some hand digging once they get close to where that's at, just to protect the force main, protect the storm sewer pipe.
So will they dig under the gas line too?
Let me see here. I don't. There's gas service lines, so they'll have to hand dig under that. There's a couple of gas service lines. It looks like so this is not the gas main. We're not crossing the gas main. It's service lines. So there's a service line. It looks like it goes back towards your house there.
Yeah, right. It's a service line to our house, right?
Yes, and they'll have to hand dig in those spots. So they'll protect them.
Okay. All right.
So they'll probably be exposed. Like if you were to look inside the trench, you would see, the utility lines, sort of suspended in midair over top of where they're digging. So they have to protect those. And it's important before they dig, they'll have Miss Utility mark all of these utilities in the field, so they know pretty much where they're located and where they need to be careful.
Well, Miss Utility was a little bit off the mark, and the company that you hired to come back was 100% better. They were much more accurate.
Are you talking about surveying and mapping, Sam?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they're the ones who did the utility locating work. So they actually did the test holes and everything to physically, locate where these were in relation to our force main pipe.
Right.
That we're putting in.
One of the utilities was on the plan was way off mark. It took them quite a while to find it. So are they going to dig around our sprinkler system? Or I remember when Mr. Doyle was here, he said something that you would fix the sprinkler system as you go along.
Okay, where are you talking about your sprinkler system? I know you had a sprinkler system in the backyard.
Oh, we have one in the front yard, and so does the Marzettis.
Okay, so the contractor is, we have written in the plans and the contract documents. So we have specifications that are provided to the contractor as part of their contract.
Mm-hmm.
They're required to restore and, anything that they damage during the course of construction, such as, let's say, your irrigation system, they're going to have to restore or replace whatever they damage to pre-construction conditions at, at the end of the project, when they're getting ready to restore all this. So anything that they damage or, have to, take out, if they have to remove something like, which they wouldn't have to remove the, necessarily your irrigation system, but if they damage or have to move something, they have to replace it at the end.
Okay. I mean, I just need it conferred by you. One person says it, but you're directly.
And just
with
an
the
example, we had a project where we did a rehabilitation of a force main, and I think we had a construction entrance that went across some irrigation for an HOA, and we came up with I think the HOA had the stuff repaired because they wanted to use a particular company that installed and maintained that, and then we reimbursed them for the expense at the end.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of like another option right there, but they had a preference as to they used a certain company that installed that stuff.
Right.
So that's who we reached out to, or we could have the contractor utilize that same company, and then we would reimburse our contractor for that work.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great. Well,
If it's something the contractor, let's say, inadvertently damages, then it's at the contractor's cost. But if it's something that it's a result of our project that it has to be disturbed, then it's got to be restored at the end.
okay.
And Frank can chime in if I've said anything that might be not on par with how we do things.
No, it's pretty spot on. And one of the things we do want to point out before you actually start breaking ground or doing any work in the field is we take quite a few pre-construction videos and pictures of the job site. So we have a good record of what the pre-construction conditions are, so that if there's any doubt about what things look like and how to restore stuff, we've got good documentation for that.
Yes.
And also wanted to also point out that while we have a 1-year warranty with the contractor, the permit we have, I assume we have a VDOT permit, Natasha?
I'm working on, I'll be getting a VDOT
Okay.
permit before the contractor starts work. So before we get the project awarded to a contractor, we'll have a permit.
It's in progress. Okay. Yeah, I just want to point out the VDOT permit that we're going to pull actually has a longer warranty period that we're on the hook for. I think it's 3 years. So if something happens to the pavement, it starts to settle for whatever reason, or it doesn't, for some reason, it starts to break up, which we don't anticipate it would. We wouldn't expect it to. But if it were, then VDOT would come back to us to get that repaired as the permit holder for that.
That's for stuff that's in the VDOT right away.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So basically everything that's inside Riverwood Court itself. So the pavement, sidewalk, curb and gutter type thing. So, that would be a 3-year warranty on that. So like right here, we would be, tearing up the curb and gutter and sidewalk, and it's going to have to be replaced by the contractor at the end. So if anything goes wrong with that within 3 years, we would have to fix it.
Okay. Okay.
And yes, we do take a lot of pre-construction photos, videos, that type of thing at the beginning of the project, and then at the end also. And throughout the project, when I go out to visit a job site, I have a little camera I bring and I take pictures as well. So I take lots of pictures throughout the course of the project.
Okay, sounds great.
All right. So let's see, do we have any other questions from anybody? All right, well, if anybody wants to, send me their contact information, feel free to do that through my email. You can give me a call if you got any further questions. And Babs, I'll be sending you, this current bid ready set of plans
Okay,
through a PDF, so you have that.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to email you right now so you have my contact information. This is Lisa Rice. I'm the one who spoke about my children.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, let me finish up. Let me go back to my slideshow here. I have one more slide. We go to the end. Sorry, guys, I don't I don't do very many of these slideshow presentations. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. I figured it out. So here's my contact information if you need additional information. And both phone numbers go directly to my county cell phone, either the direct number or the mobile. The direct number will actually, if I'm logged into my county laptop, it will go directly into my laptop and I can answer it through that. So, all right. And there are no more questions. I'll consider this meeting adjourned. I thank everybody for attending and giving your attention as well.
Well, thank you for all the information. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. No problem. And I apologize, I didn't start off too good in terms of I wasn't sharing my screen and I was sitting here just rambling on.
Well, sometimes when you do these Zoom meetings, you're so up with your presentation, you don't think of all of those other details.
Right. It's like, okay, sometimes it does help. I know sometimes like, can everybody see my screen before you get started? So maybe a little lesson here learned here for me for future presentations.
Well, it was good seeing you, Natasha, and meeting everyone else. And thank you for all your answers. I really appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. If you have anything else, you can always send me an email or give me a call.
Okay, sounds great.
All right. Well, thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Have
Thanks,
a nice
Matt.
evening.
Thanks,
Bye.
Frank.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thanks.
How do I get out of this one? Well, let me go here.